Welcome to the My Voice Matters podcast. My name is Monroe Clayton, and I'm your host. Today, we'll be doing something a little different. In honor of Earth Day, one of our team members, Katherine, will be talking about PFOAs, PFAs, and PAHs, and their effect on the environment.
Hi, I'm Katherine, and I'm an intern with My Vote Matters. Today, we'll be talking about PFAs and PFAHs and why they are important to understand. While you've likely never heard of PFAs and PFAHs, the harmful effects of these chemicals must be addressed. PFAs and PFAHs are pervasive in our air and drinking water. They've been proven to cause cancer and many other harmful health effects. Yet, federal and state governments do little to limit these chemicals. Today, I will tell you why we must protect ourselves and urge our government to do more. So you're probably thinking, what is a PFA? PFAs, or perfluoroalkyl substances, are a group of man-made chemicals that include PFOA, PFOS, Gen X, and thousands of other chemicals. The two most extensively produced and studied are PFOA and PFOS. PFAs have been manufactured and used by industries worldwide since the 1940s. They are used in everything from Teflon to raincoats to dental floss. PFAs have been phased out of the United States, but they don't break down easily and can accumulate in the environment and in the human body. They have been found in high amounts in blood levels of those who live near chemical plants that use PFAs. They can also be found in blood levels of those who have drinking water sources contaminated with PFAs. PFAs have been linked to cancer. In lab studies, animals exposed to PFOA had increased risk of cancerous tumors in the liver, testicles, breast, and pancreas. Studies examining cancer rates of people exposed to PFOAs found an increased risk of testicular cancer and links to kidney and thyroid cancer. The WHO has classified PFOA as possibly carcinogenic to humans. The EPA, however, has not classified PFOA as a carcinogenic. The EPA has no enforceable limits on the levels of PFAs in drinking water. The lack of maximum containment levels limits the EPA's role to regulate these contaminants. Due to harmful effects of these chemicals, this complete lack of regulation is a major concern. In 2002, the chemical company DuPont bought the rights to produce PFOA, which then leaked into the groundwater under the company's plant in Cape Fear River in Bladen County in North Carolina. The water contamination was not publicly known until an article published in 2017, 15 years later. The State Department of Environmental Quality then moved to stop the PFOAs from getting into the air and downstream drinking water. To stop the spread, the state entered into a consent order and forced the company to buy a thermal oxidizer to remove airborne PFOAs from the plant. While they prohibited the company from releasing processed wastewater, contamination still occurs because of seepage from groundwater at the plant. The chemical company also switched from producing PFOA to Gen X, which is another type of the same group of chemicals, and studies show that Gen X causes negative effects to the liver and blood, and the EPA classifies it as a possible carcinogenic. This company loophole shows that without government regulation, we are at the will of these corporations' actions. Other areas of North Carolina have been affected as well. In Greensboro, high levels of PFAs were found in drinking water. The primary source is from firefighting foam once used for training at the Piedmont Airport. Greensboro planned to spend $31 million on a system to filter out these PFAs, but the plan has been on hold due to the COVID-19 pandemic. PFAs from Greensboro have also seeped into the Haw River and other cities' water sources, and water contamination is a major issue and it must be addressed. So you would think that North Carolina would have enforceable health standards to stop these PFAs, right? Wrong, the state does not. North Carolina has only announced an investigation by Attorney General Stein into industries that pollute the waterways with PFAs. There has been an important call to regulate PFAs as a single class. This would mean that PFAs will be regulated rather than setting specific levels for types of chemicals like PFOA and PFOS. Regulating PFAs to include all subchemicals will prevent companies like DuPont, who switched from PFOA to Gen X, from introducing new chemicals in the same family that wouldn't be covered by the regulation. North Carolina Representative Harrison, who represents Greensboro, has been a primary supporter of bills to prevent PFAs. She's attempted to set maximum containment levels for these chemicals, but no bill has yet to be passed. This lack of action is not unique to North Carolina. This is a larger issue of PFAs affecting communities throughout the U.S. with a lack of enforceable regulations. So what's our national government doing? At the federal level, there have been efforts to reduce PFAs. The EPA put forward a PFAS action plan in 2019, which proposed to set a maximum containment level for PFOA and PFOS in drinking water. Maximum containment levels are the highest legally enforceable standard for chemicals, making this an important step in reducing PFAs. PFAs could also be hazardous under the Superfund. Superfund gives states and EPA more power to force industries to clean up sites contaminated with PFAs. But sadly, neither of these initiatives have been passed and enacted, with little hope of them being implemented soon. Bills have also been proposed in Congress to prevent PFAs. Representative Dingell from Michigan introduced a bill that would require the EPA to set certain drinking water standards and also designate all PFAs as hazardous substances within 1 year. However, EPA Minister Andrew Wheeler, who was appointed under the Trump administration, shut down this plan in 2019. He said the 1 year timeline wasn't feasible to set drinking water standards. Wheeler has also avoided the questions of PFAs during press conferences and has done little to address the issue. The lack of EPA regulation and focus on PFAs is extremely disheartening and alarming. With the EPA doing little to help, states have intervened to reduce PFAs. Michigan and at least 12 other states have their own maximum contaminant levels for PFAs. Michigan's new regulations are considered to be the most restrictive in the country for some substances. Michigan also created a multi-agency task force to coordinate the state's response and began testing public water supplies for PFAs in 2017. While the federal government has done little to regulate these chemicals, the state level has shown recent advancements in regulation. The next important set of chemicals I'll be discussing are called PAHs. PAHs stand for Polycyclic Aromatic Hydrocarbons, and they are a large group of chemical compounds which can come from a wide variety of sources. PAHs are formed when organic material containing carbon is burned, and they have both man-made and natural sources. In the natural environment, they are formed during forest fires and volcanic eruptions, but man-made sources include burning fossil fuels during the oil refinery process, burning garbage, and grilling food. Intentional use of PAHs are in mothballs to repel pests and as solvent or intermediary in many industrial applications. Also, coal tar contains PAHs, which is used as a sealant for streets and parking lots and in some roofing materials. Since PAHs come from such a wide variety of sources, preventing them has become really difficult. We are exposed to PAHs in 3 major ways. First, through eating food that is cooked in certain ways. When meat with high fat content is charred or blackened, it forms PAHs. Second, contact with the skin can cause exposure. And then third, breathing in through wood fire stoves used for heating, smoking, burning candles, or vehicle exhaust causes exposure. Urban air generally has higher levels of PAHs compared to rural areas, particularly near construction sites, rail lines, highways, and ports. The health effects of PAHs are particularly concerning. PAH exposure has been historically linked to cancer in those working in chimney sweeps. Studies also show increased lung cancer in certain jobs, like working with coke ovens or tar-based roofing. Cigarette smokers are at a much greater risk of developing lung cancer due to PAHs. Exposure can also result in negative effects other than cancer. These include adverse effects on breathing, chest pain and irritation, and frequency and cough. PAHs are known to be toxic to aquatic animals. Animal studies show associations between PAHs and various cancers, reproductive effects, and immune system problems. These chemicals are very harmful to humans, with little attempts at mitigation. PAHs have greatly affected North Carolina, particularly. PAHs are a contaminant in urban waterways. PAHs were found in sediments at the bottom of watersheds with high urban density and motor vehicle traffic. Another major contributor is the use of coal tar-based parking lot sealant. Burnt Mill Creek, for example, is an urban stream in North Carolina which has been impaired by PAHs. The North Carolina Division of Water Quality does not monitor the presence of PAHs in streams. PAHs are expensive to measure, and North Carolina has no official standard for PAHs. All of this information on the unregulated and pervasive chemicals is alarming, but there are many ways that we can reduce our exposure to PAHs. At a personal level, we can pay attention to how our food is prepared. If you grill or char-broil your food, remove the blackened portion of your meat. While heating with wood, consider doing an energy audit and determine if ventilation and efficiency are needed. Also, eliminating or reducing candles and incense in the homes could also be helpful. Corporations and the government play the most important role in preventing PAHs. They should eliminate the use of coal tar-based sealants in parking lots and intercept and manage runoff in parking lots and roads. We should not allow companies to produce such chemicals without greater oversight. So the lack of regulation from the state and federal level for both PAHs and PFAs is dangerous. We should be able to assume that the water we drink and the air we breathe is safe. These are basic human rights. We must urge our representatives to support regulations against PAHs and PFAs and spread the word against these harmful effects. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the My Voice Matters podcast. Make sure to check out our website, myvotematters.shop, where you can cop our new Earth Day t-shirt. Also, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube and follow us on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok. All right, peace.